All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Playbook podcast. It's once again Paul, your host slash co-host. We're missing Joe a little bit this week. Today, my guest is someone that I've interviewed before in a different context for our agent interviews series here at our brokerage. Today, she's on the podcast. Help me welcome Cherilyn, aka Chevie Mitchell. How are you, Cherilyn?
I'm good, Paul. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks. Did you like the intro?
I like that. Thanks for doing the Chevy part. People here are just starting to catch on to that, but I'll take it.
So, can I ask first where that comes from, the Chevy? If you can say.
That was a nickname I got in like elementary school, and it just kind of became my name.
Yeah,
So it just stuck.
it makes sense.
Nothing exciting.
Yeah, we often get nicknames that don't really make sense. My grandmother, I guess when I was very young, I nicknamed her Bobby. Her name's Carolyn. So where that came from, I have no idea, but it stuck and it still is that way today. So
I like it.
yeah, so Cherilyn actually came on pretty last minute for us this week. It's been a hectic week having some tech problems and whatnot. And Thanksgiving is coming up as well. So we kind of have a short week, at least at the office. So I wanted to say first, thank you for coming in, Cherilyn, on last notice. So for the people out there that don't know you, obviously I've interviewed you before. I know a little bit about you. Could you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got your start in real estate, that sort of thing?
Sure. So I actually moved here to Florida about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago from Anchorage, Alaska, where I was born and raised. I have done a variety of different kinds of jobs over the years, but for the last 15, primarily I had done accounting. And it was kind of soul sucking. And I decided I wanted to do something new. And every time I was looking into anything real estate, buying a home, helping someone else look for a house, because that's what I like to do, everyone was always like, why don't you just do real estate? So when I moved down here, I was going to get into real estate, but I moved down with just me and my young daughter and needed to pay the bills. So I got an accounting job. COVID hit, changed our entire world, as everybody knows. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I got my real estate license, quit my job, got my real estate license, and here I am today.
And here you are with us on board. So it's been about a year, would you say, Cherilyn, or?
Yep, actually, December is a year.
Okay, awesome. Well, happy early anniversary, I must say. So the big thing that always sticks out to me or has stuck out to me about you, Cherilyn, is I've never met anybody from Alaska, first of all. I feel like it's one of those, it's like people are sometimes like, does it even exist? But so since I don't know anybody from Alaska, and obviously Florida is such a polar opposite of that state, I wanted to ask you, because we don't talk a lot about Florida or Tampa, particularly on this podcast, but people should know that's where we are, that's where we work. I'm wondering from an quote unquote outsider perspective, if there's anything that you've noticed about Tampa or Florida that really makes this area unique.
For me, we actually chose this area on purpose. We didn't want to live like big city. So Miami was out. Personally, I don't care for Orlando all that much. I don't like all the tourist traffic. It kind of makes me crazy.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to be up in the panhandle. So when we chose Tampa, it was a very intentional move to Tampa, not just throw a dart at a board.
Yeah.
The great thing about Tampa is it's very diverse, like culturally diverse. There's a million and one things to do here. There's always something to do for every kind of activity. I grew up playing hockey, and there's a hockey rink within 20 minutes of my house. And there's also a women's hockey team within 30 minutes the other direction. So here I am. I grew up my whole life playing hockey, and now I can carry that over into Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Which you wouldn't think you could carry that over into Florida other than the Lightning. But with that said, we also have all the sports teams. We've got the Lightning, we've got the Bucks, we've got the Rays. So there's just a lot to do here. And then on top of that, you're like, depending on where you live, you're really close to the great Gulf beaches, and you can't really go wrong there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a little different than your perspective. Obviously, I was not born here either, but I've been here for 15 plus years. So I'm basically a Floridian at this point, right? And I've seen I've seen a lot of the area change over time. And I mean, I can remember even just in like Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes area, it used to be a lot of just nothingness. And now you see all these developments, you see shopping centers, places to live, whatever it might be. So I think it's been really cool to see how it's changed over time. And like you said, we still haven't quite hit that threshold of like a big city feel, which I think is still appealing to a lot of people because you don't have to deal with the insanity of getting into Miami and the insanity of just dealing with crowds and stuff. that you might have to out there.
So I have noticed, you get your different little areas like Wesley Chapel, or like I'm in Brandon Riverview area, and in Brandon Riverview, I have everything. I have all my amenities, right? All my different grocery stores, Costco, Sam's Club, the regular grocery store, a mall, all that stuff. But then it's still easy access to downtown, and you can get downtown in 20, 30 minutes, depending on the traffic for the day. So it doesn't have like, it's big city, but it's not big city, which is
Right.
really nice.
I totally agree. And then your point about the beaches, I've had this conversation with friends, family, etc., where it's like, are you a city person or are you a beach person? And I'm like, I'm kind of both. So it's kind of nice to be in this area where you can just like pick and choose, like, oh, this day I feel like going shopping or eating or whatever, and this day I feel like laying on the sand and being a big pile of nothing. So you can do both, in one weekend if you wanted to. What's that?
And it's not that far away.
Exactly. So we are uniquely.
It's debating, the Gulf beaches are way better than the East Coast beaches.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. That's a diss. Cherilyn Mitchell. Watch out. So, talking about big changes, Cherilyn, and you mentioned up top about how you were in the accounting field for quite a long time. You decided to make this career change and kind of go into business for yourself, so to speak. I'm wondering, coming into this as a new career field, something that was almost completely new to you, what sorts of things did you encounter or have you encountered that you did not expect? Was there anything that sort of threw you for a loop or you had to adjust to when you came into this career? Or maybe you're still adjusting, who knows?
I mean, it's ever changing, right? So you're always going to
Right.
be adjusting something. But I will say that there's a lot more to real estate that people don't understand than they think, right? Like, as much as I loved real estate before I got into the industry, once I started taking the classes and actually selling houses for people, I was like, oh, okay, there's a lot more to this than the average person understands. The other side of that is, I would say that not as many people are as professional as you would think.
Right.
Hope, I guess, is a good way to put it. It's just like any business, right? Like, some people are great and they're wonderful to work with, and other people are like, okay, I hope that I don't cross paths with them again.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was talking to, I've been working with Amy a little bit on some stuff lately, and we were talking about professionalism and also just kind of how people approach real estate as a career in general. And I was telling her, and she kind of agreed that like there's a certain kind of person that might get into it because they see the success that of some people, right? So they see the money being made and they see the closing pictures being taken or whatever, and they see it as almost like not necessarily a cash grab, but something adjacent to a cash grab. They think I can get it and I can do this, make money. So they don't treat it like a career, and therefore I'm sure it translates to unprofessionalism or whatever it might be. So I think even if you get into it for the money, it's maybe time to pivot a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right. I actually, part of my reason for getting into it is, I mean, besides loving real estate, I'm a big problem solver, which I think kind of comes a little bit with accounting, right? You're always solving different kind of problems somewhere, making things balance and match. But I think you're right. A lot of people get into it, especially in this market where it's fast and furious and everyone's selling houses and buying houses. So people get into it thinking, oh, I'm just going to walk away with 6 figures a year. And that's not really how it works. And you have
Yeah,
to work for that, build it up and everything else. So
absolutely.
it's
And
like
that's,
anything, right? You got to like get yourself there. You have to work to get to where you want to be.
yeah, no doubt. That's a theme I'm starting to notice too across just doing these interviews, doing the podcast and whatnot is every agent, old, new, or otherwise, has always said the same thing where it's like you have to treat it like a career. You can't get in and not put the work in or not dedicate yourself to this and expect to do as well as the top producers that you see. So I'm glad that it's been consistent across the board. Everybody kind of feels the same way, and hopefully others will start to do the same.
Yeah, you definitely have to work to get to where you want to be. You can't just walk in and think that you're going to start making money tomorrow, because
Yeah.
that's not how you have to put the work in.
If there was a job that was like that, I think more people would be doing it.
Yeah,
So, a similar kind of question there, Cherilyn, with real estate being a newer career to you, and you've done pretty well for yourself. I mean, like you said, we're coming up on a year in December, and we talked about it a little bit in the other video that I did with you for 54 Realty. But I'm wondering if there's anything that you might attribute your success to. Maybe it's one thing or a couple of things.
I think part of my history with doing accounting, it keeps me very well organized when it comes to money and tracking expenses and stuff like that, which really helps the back end side, right? Like my personal side. But for a lot of years growing up in my early 20s, I was also a bartender because I like to connect with people. And so I think that's kind of where some of that comes from is I can connect well with people when I meet them. And, I treat everybody the same regardless until you give me a reason not to.
Yeah.
um, but that's what it is like I'm real with people. I'm not just here trying to hurry up and get you into any house so that I make a paycheck. Like it is what it is. I've got some clients that I've been working with since April and May that still haven't picked a house, which is fine. I still go out and show them a house every time one comes up they want to see. So I think it's part of it's being a people person, but part of it is also keeping yourself very well organized and on track.
Absolutely. And I can see that. You and I were actually talking recently, and you were mentioning to me about when you first came on board, at least to this brokerage, about, setting goals for yourself and stuff like that. And I'm finding that to be successful in this field, you have to think kind of long term sometimes. So, to reference a previous episode, Joe was talking to Jay Pitts, which is a realtor friend of his, and Jay was talking about cultivating your sphere of influence. And he said something along the lines of like, likening it to being a farmer where you have to plant the seed and you might not see the results for 6 months, similar to what you're saying with, clients that you've had since May or whatever. But eventually you will get that return on investment, whether it's a financial investment or otherwise. I wonder if you agree with that.
No, I absolutely agree with that. You really have to. It's not quick money. It's not easy money. You
Yeah.
might get a lead or a deal on occasion that's really fast and easy, and you're like, oh, that just made my whole month because it was an easy one. But for the most part, most of your clients are not like that. Most people do not put in an offer and win that offer on the first house they see.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
that's realistic. So it is all about kind of cultivating that and getting, just building your sphere and working with people.
Yeah, no doubt. So speaking of putting in multiple offers and that sort of situation, you touched on it earlier about how hectic the market is right now. And I know it's difficult to make like predictions. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about just how things are right now, how it's been affecting your business, if it has.
So it affects all of our business, right? We got past the hump of summertime where everybody wanted to move before the school year started. But now you still have a lot of people that are still moving, regardless of the fact that the school year started, whether it's for a job or they don't have kids in school, so they don't really care what time of year they move. And some people that have decided they're just done with winter wherever they live. So they want to come somewhere warmer. With that said, we're seeing a lot of like some of the pricing start to level out a little bit, but not enough to make a huge difference. And where you see a lot of the craziness still happening is stuff that gets just slightly underpriced on purpose so that it goes quickly and they get multiple offers on it. I showed a condo this weekend that 3 days, 2 days on the market, and it's already got multiple offers on it because they priced it to get it going. So that's just how it is. And we just hope for the best.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much the sentiment I hear these days.
It's
So
like winning the lottery when you get your client under contract.
yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. So I have kind of two questions there. So the first one, I heard this somebody say this recently, and I often speak from a place of like no real estate experience, right? So just what I hear, I don't know if I should believe. I don't know. So they said something along the lines of when you're listing a home, when you're selling a home, the first couple of offers that you get are usually the best. Is that at all accurate, or is it hard to make a generalization like that? Is it different for every kind of
It's kind of
scenario?
hard to make a generalization. It depends on if you price the house just right. If you price the house just right for the market, you're going to likely end up with multiple offers within your first couple of days. And I would say, yeah, but if you don't still have a ton of offers coming in, like you better jump on those ones you got right away
Yeah,
because absolutely they're the first one, like the best ones you're going to get. That's just all there is to it. And in the case where like this condo that I was just talking about, they priced it right. So at that point, they can get 15 or 20 offers. Who knows what they're going to get,
right.
but I guarantee you over list price. So yes, you could say that, the first couple that you get are the best, but not always because it just depends on when people can get in to see them and how
True.
quickly they move. But most this point know to move quick. So
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely shifted, I think, people's behaviors, like especially if they're working with an agent who kind of knows what they're doing. They're like, we got to move quick because we can't drag our feet, you know?
the condo, I told my clients this weekend, I said, listen, the entire day is completely booked with showings, the whole day. So you have to decide right now
Yeah.
what you want to do. Make a decision. Do you want it or not?
Holy cow. So then my follow-up question, and I haven't been able to ask this to anyone in a long time, a realtor specifically. So we were at a point where I was pretty sure that the prevailing advice that realtors would give to their clients is now is the time to sell. Like if you're considering it and you haven't fully made your mind up, now is the time. Do you think we're still at that point where if you had somebody who was on the fence about selling, you would still recommend them to go ahead and pull the trigger based on the conditions of the market? Or is it at a point where it's a gray area right now?
I would absolutely recommend somebody sell depending on their situation, right? Do you have somewhere to move to? Are you having a new house built? Are you moving out of state? Because if your plan is let me sell and go look at a rental, I want you to look at rentals first because
Yeah,
rentals are all extremely expensive.
I can
So let's
attest.
not, yes, let's not just jump the gun and sell our house and not have anywhere to go, or to turn around and spend all of your capital gains on a rental.
Yeah.
So, but people that have the situation or the ability to just sell their house and move on, absolutely, I would definitely sell.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Sell that house. Quit dragging your feet. Do it. Call her. I just had two more questions for you, Cherilyn. So these are ones that we just kind of ask everybody on this podcast. They're kind of fun, right? So if you had to look back, let's say even pre-accounting, if you hadn't chosen real estate as your career, what would you see yourself doing?
That's a tough one.
I
I
know.
really don't know. I can tell you in between accounting and real estate, before I left accounting, before I decided to do real estate, I actually wrote up a business plan. I still have it to open a coffee shop.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna go to a coffee shop. But like, okay, this is different. It's not something that's normal here.
Yeah.
In Alaska, we have coffee shops that are like little coffee huts. Like basically they're the size of a shed, but a little bigger and fancier and nicer.
Oh, wow.
And you can drive up on the other side of it. So there's two drive-through windows and you just drive up, you get your coffee and you drive off. Every single one is locally, individually owned, but there's a couple in Anchorage that have more than one, but there's like BB's coffee shop, Ray Ray's coffee shop, Kindred Spirits, stuff like that, like just great little coffee shops. So
That's
I
really
moved
cool.
out here and my options were Starbucks and Dunkin', and I was a little sad.
Well, I would definitely go to your coffee shop, Cherilyn. So you got customer number one. So the last thing here, Cherilyn, and this is what we always end with. So if you could speak to a newer agent out there or somebody who's not sure if they want to get into the career or not and give them a word of advice, what would your advice be?
So this is going to touch on two things. One that we talked about a little bit earlier, and then one that you and I had talked about previously in our last interview.
Hmm.
For one, don't get into this industry thinking it's going to be a cash grab. You have to put the work in. It's not as easy as a lot of agents make it look. Some of these top agents are seamless and it's impressive, and they make it look so easy. It's not that easy. It's really not, or literally everybody would do it, right? The other thing is do your research, not just after like about getting your license. You got to figure that out and find out where to get your license, but do your research on brokerages. Find a brokerage that has a commission split that you're okay with. Find a brokerage that gives you leads if you're going to need those, which realistically, if you're new to the industry, you're going to need leads, because even if you're born and raised here, you only know so many people. You still need leads, and not all those people are buying houses this week, and not all of them are going to buy a house from you because they may not even realize you're a realtor now.
Yeah.
So do that. And then the big one that I'm learning right now is social media.
Hey.
I hate the social media aspect of it. I'm really bad about it. Everybody knows that. But keep up on social media. You have to make your presence known.
We'll put up Cherilyn's Instagram right here.
Roll it across the bottom. CNN.
Bingo. That's actually was kind of my next thing. So all good points, by the way. And I was, again, talking about Amy. We were talking a lot about the social media stuff. And I do see you being a little bit more active now. So, hey, you're getting there, homie. It's all about just do, do not try. I don't know the saying, whatever Yoda says, okay? There, do or do not, there is no try. Is that even Yoda? I don't know. It's not important, folks. Anyway, so Cherilyn, if the people out there want to buy or sell a home with you, where can they reach you best?
Ooh, they can find all of my information, contact info on not just the company website, but it's also on my Instagram and my Facebook page, which you can find at Chevie, Chevie Realtor for both of those. Or, you can always hit me on my celly, 813-452-7514.
Okay, awesome. Well, once again, thanks so much, Cherilyn, for doing this last minute with me. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, Paul.
Yes, ma'am, no problem. And to everybody out there, you're probably watching this around Thanksgiving time, so happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate. And we're thankful for you for listening and watching.
Eat some good turkey.
Or don't if you're a vegetarian, but hey. Thanks, Cherilyn.
Of course.
All right, that was Cherilyn, aka Chevie Mitchell. Thank you guys for tuning in. We did record an episode of this last week, had some tech issues. This one kind of had to be done last minute. So if you're listening, Cherilyn, thanks again for helping out last minute. We want to keep bringing these to you guys every Tuesday pretty much. So if we have to fill in something on the spot, we'll fill it in and do it on the spot. Wanted to say once again, thanks to everybody who's been listening, watching, etc. If you could, if you're listening on, or excuse me, watching rather on YouTube, head down below, give us a subscribe, like, a comment, etc. There's no more dislike button, so if you don't dislike us, you can't even tell us anymore. So anyway, if you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and follow the show. We're on Google Podcasts now, so you can subscribe over there as well. Still trying to get onto Apple Podcasts. They're giving us a little bit of a hard time there, but we'll get it figured out sooner rather than later. Social media is the Real Estate Playbook on everything. And by everything, I mean Facebook and Instagram. But hey, that's something. So go ahead and give us a follow over there. What's more, we have the website as well. It's going to have the latest episode on there now for you guys. So if you go to therealestateplaybook.com, you'll see the latest episode from the audio and video versions. I don't think there was anything else, so I just wanted to say thank you once again for listening, and we'll see you next week.